All Century 21 real estate offices are independently owned and operated.
Happy Memorial Day weekend, everyone. Thanks for joining the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate. I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker, and with my husband, fellow realtor, Pat Devaney.
Good morning, Jackie. We're back in person. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Glad to be back in the studio. We have with us a very, very special guest today, Mark Cooper, executive chef from Cooper's Seafood House. Good morning.
Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning.
We're so happy and delighted you are with us today.
Me too.
All right. We are here every Saturday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 11:30 a.m. on the Real Estate Roundtable. We have, what am I doing? We are here every Saturday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 11:30 a.m. where we discuss real estate. We have a full-time real estate office with many exceptional realtors. We've been listing, selling, and appraising real estate for 50 years.
50 years. Wow. During the week, feel free to email us with any questions you have at questions@jruddy.com. That's questions@jruddy.com. Or you can give us a call at 570-344-6724. And when you're at jruddy.com, click on the webcam tab. We have a webcam on the roof of the building, and it's pointed at the corners. We get a lot of hits every month on that. People want to see what's going on at the more corners.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
View our listings, search the MLS listings, and listen to archive radio shows by going to mobile-friendly-jruddy.com, JRUDDY.com. Look us up on social media. And also, we are new to the podcast world. All our radio shows are offered on most popular podcast apps, and you can find it on jruddy.com. If you go to the radio tab, all those icons are there for the podcast that we are on. You can follow, subscribe, and even rate us if you so choose.
That's right. And my sister listens when she's out on Long Island. I called her the other day. I says, Eileen, how are you? She goes, I was just listening to your podcast. So we do have people that listen.
Yeah, wherever you are in the world, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. Okay, so Mark Cooper, executive chef. I like to call you chef extraordinaire.
Thank you.
From Cooper's Seafood House. We're so happy you're here. Could you just give us a brief background on you, your schooling, and how long you've been at Cooper's?
Well, actually, I've been at Cooper's my whole life because I was born into this business. And as a kid,
It's a family business.
Family business. I started working. My father brought myself and my brother over to work. I was 12 years old. My brother Jack was 10. He brought us over and said, you're going to start working.
I always thought Jack was older than you.
No, I'm the oldest.
Okay.
But he brought us over, and at 12 years old, I started working, washing dishes, and then, learned how to open clams and oysters, and worked as an assistant cook, and then eventually, as a chef. But I swore I would never do that. I was never going to do it because it meant long hours, working nights, working weekends, holidays. Every time somebody else is off, you're working. And when you're working, they're off. So restaurant people are pretty much to themselves. They have a little...
You are literally married to your business.
You really are.
You really are.
So, I went to school, and I said I was going to do something different. I went to Penn State, and I got a job with DuPont out in West Virginia, at Parkersburg, West Virginia. Got only job offer out of the class. And took the job, and I got drafted. When I came back from the Army...
Did you cook in the Army?
No. I was a radio man.
Okay.
I had a top secret clearance, and we did radio teletype and communications like that. It was an interesting job. Anyway, I came back, and a bartender was sick, and my dad asked me, can you fill in for a little while? Just before I was going to go back
You're
to
still
DuPont.
filling in, aren't you?
I
was
said,
50
okay.
years ago.
Yeah, 50 years ago. I said, okay, I'll fill in for a little while. And here I am. I'm still here.
Sealed your fate.
I was going to do a million things. I'd gotten my pilot's license at the time, and I had a job offer to go be a bush pilot up in Alaska because I knew some friends. And I was all set to go. This is some years later. My wife said, we found out we were pregnant with our second child, and she said, we are not going to Alaska. I don't know anybody there. I'm pregnant. No. So that ended that, thank God. But anyway, I went back to school, and I did some courses at CIA up in Hyde Park, New York, and Luzerne Community College. Did a lot of stuff. I did some stuff at Cornell. So
you're well educated.
Yeah, I've been back and forth with it. It's just we've done a lot of different courses. We've gone up into the White Mountains up in New Hampshire. Did a few things up there. It's a great job. It really is a great job.
Well, you're excellent at what you do, and so you run it all. You run the kitchen down there at Cooper's, and you put together a great menu. I won't say when, but at one point in my life, I was a waitress at Cooper's.
Yes, I remember.
Yes, I remember too. So we spent some time together, but I was always amazed at the level of knowledge that you have, not only regarding seafood, food in general, but all the liquors and beers and wines and so on and so forth. You're a walking encyclopedia. But we are spending more time in our kitchens these days, right? I mean,
absolutely.
But even before the pandemic, pre-pandemic, where do most people spend most of
In
their
the kitchen.
time?
The kitchen is like the meeting room of the house. Everybody's in the
Central
kitchen.
focus. Everyone
Right.
wants to hang out in the kitchen.
Everybody wants it. So, I mean, we're all eating the same things over and over and over again. But we also could use some tips and tricks from someone that knows what I surely do not know. Maybe
Jackie makes the best reservations in the world.
I will try to stay with this conversation, but when it comes to cooking, I have no interest, but I'll try. But you are very interesting to listen to, so I'm sure I won't get bored. But so let's talk about things to do in the kitchen and maybe different things that we're not thinking about while we're home. You want to spice up our recipes?
Well, we were talking earlier something about scallops and seafood in general. Of course, that's my area of
Specialty,
expertise.
yes.
Yeah. Scallops for one. We had talked about this, but there's such a difference in these things that you can get scallops, and if you order them out sometimes or buy them in the store, and they may say scallop product. Well, that means that they're soaked, and there's about 25% water or more. And it's full of sodium tripolyphosphate, which is a food preservative and somewhat of a bleach. So they'll take scallops that are not quite up to par, and they'll soak them, and they will gain weight, and they'll get nice and white. And now you're paying for water and basically like
Bleach.
Bleach.
Well, like you know what? The tripolyphosphate. If you put dishwashing detergent in your dishwasher at home, and you get some of that dust or the smell if you're pouring it in, and you get that little taste in your mouth, that's the phosphates you're tasting. And you eat those scallops or the shrimp, for notorious oversoaked shrimp, you get this taste like you're tasting a little bit of Cascade. That means they're soaked and you're eating tripolyphosphate.
Dear Lord.
So that's what a scallop product is?
It's called, well, by legally, they can't call it scallops. They have to call it scallop product. And it will say usually up to 25% water. It could be more because they are little tricks that they use when they sell these things. They'll take the bag and soak it in water, and now it picks up a lot of weight. So you're buying water. And
Well, how do you know if
freeze it?
how do you know? Well, first of all, if you buy scallop product, I wouldn't buy scallop product. It needs to say dry scallops.
Okay.
The other, if you put a scallop like that in a pan, and you may have this dollar, like a silver dollar size scallop, or say a $50 size scallop, and you put it in there and it's been soaked, all of a sudden it looks like, where did it go? You have a pan full of water and this little nugget there. And I'm thinking, what happened? They're lousy. They're really lousy. And I have a story to tell you about that. We used to buy scallops from a place in New Bedford for years. And the guy was really nice. My wife and I like to go up and visit all the places we buy from. So we went to visit him, and he was very nice. He took us out to lunch. They were very hospitable, and I toured his plant, and we never bought another thing from him. Because I watched the guy in the back dumping these 5-gallon buckets full of sodium tripoly in these huge vats, and I was like aghast. My eyes were like big saucers. I thought, what are you doing? He said, I've got the best chemical man in the business. I said, that's it for us.
Thank you for the lunch. Take care. Comb your hair.
Thank
See
you very
later.
much. I said, I'm sorry, but we can't do business. I said, we don't want to buy that stuff. So it pays to know.
Sure does. But
another thing, if you see scallops and they have a color to them like a pink, it doesn't mean they're punched out of skate wings. It means that the scallop had roe in it. Now, the Europeans are big on eating scallop foot roe. They have a little semicircular, it looks like a crescent moon, the roe, and it's fluorescent orange. It's absolutely bright colored. And that colors the scallop, because the scallop's nothing more than the adductor muscle that opens and closes that bivalve. So it colors that. So they call them cranberry scallops. They taste the same. They just look a little different.
What's a scallop made from? What is a scallop?
It's the muscle. It's
a muscle of what?
If you open the clam.
Oh, it's part of a clam.
Like the clam. No, like the clam. The scallop's another type of mollusk, but it opens the part that opens and closes the shell, the muscle. That's what you're eating.
Okay.
The rest of the scallop meat generally gets shucked off and used for fertilizer or cat food or something. It's a byproduct.
Okay.
You're eating the little.
Yeah, I was wondering what a scallop is.
Because
shellfish.
The thing is, it's only that muscle. If there's red tide, you could still eat the scallop because it doesn't affect the muscle. It'll affect the rest of the scallop, but not the muscle, not the adductor muscle. Okay. So they're still safe.
All right.
There's all kinds of little things to know.
All right, we got to.
I want to know about shrimp because you mentioned shrimp.
Yeah, shrimp.
And you do a lot of shrimp dishes. How do we know if they are also
Well,
soaked?
shrimp, probably 75% of the world's shrimp are farm raised. There's still as many wild caught as there ever was. It's just the demand for shrimp is so high.
Right.
And farming, like everything else, there's a learning curve. So they started farming the way they farm salmon and they farm raised shrimp. They were cutting all these mangrove swamps down and using it for it was an ecological disaster when they first started doing it. They've learned. We get all these shrimp that are raised in Bangladesh and India and Vietnam and all these little countries in the Southeast Asia. It's a great shrimp. It's very good. The thing is, if you get shrimp and you go to cook them and they won't turn color, they won't get white. It's an up and down thing. They have to use a sodium tripolyphosphate. They have to be dipped in it. Lobster tails are the same way. It's necessary for them to be before they can be sold. They have to have that little preservative on them. They're all that way unless you buy fresh shrimp, and fresh shrimp is almost unheard of to buy anywhere.
Right.
Unless you're down in North Carolina or somewhere where they're bringing fresh shrimp.
Right, down in the Gulf or something, yeah.
Most places when they sell you fresh shrimp, what they've done is they've thawed out shrimp that's been frozen and they serve it as fresh. It's really not really that way. If you get a shrimp and it won't turn color when you cook it, it stays transparent, a little translucent. It means it's been over soaked. So not a good thing. Yeah, it happens. It does happen. We've had it come in at times, and we always test what comes in and test it first. And if it has anything's a little iffy on it, it goes back immediately. But it's good to know the brands, some of the better brands. I've
had a shrimp I cooked. I remember doing a shrimp dish. And I was like, God damn it, I cooked this thing. And it was still...
It wouldn't turn.
Yeah. I was like, well, don't eat that one. It doesn't look right.
It's over soaked. They're cooked, but basically they've been cooked in the chemical.
Okay.
The chemicals actually cooked them. It's like making ceviche when you put the citrus on the fish, whatever, and that literally cooks it.
Right.
It turns it.
Okay. Oh, very good.
You're bringing me back to a discussion we had with the owner of Garrity's when Garrity's was here on the show with us, and he cautioned us about meat products that we buy, and if we're buying them at stores other than his, we have to be careful of big box stores because they're injected with things so that they stay on the shelf longer and look better.
Yes.
It was like a nitrogen, right? Didn't you say they injected nitrogen into the meats? What was
that? Finished me.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I say no, but so we have to know what we're eating. So this,
that's the hamburger that says a lot of the hamburger that's packed up like that will be treated so that it stays red. It can get really, really old, but it's not. It's nitrates. Usually, it's nitrates or nitrogen, but.
It's not brown, but it's old.
Yeah, it's
funky.
Something's not right there when that's not turning after you've got it for 5 days and it's still red. So there's something wrong.
But we have a few seafood shops locally,
right,
where we can go,
right.
And one of the grocery stores in our area has a seafood counter,
right?
And so you do at Christmas time.
We do our seafood market.
Yeah,
also,
you do the seafood market. So I would think that stuff would be hopefully safe.
Yes.
Not just yours, but I'm talking about
I've looked at most of the seafood markets around the area, and I think most people are doing a pretty good job of that.
Yeah.
selling good
But when
fish.
you're on the fly and you don't know what you're
Right.
you see a
Because
package.
I know some of the places that we buy from, a lot of the local grocers, and I'll buy from also.
Okay. All right. So it's really important to know what we're.
Well, lots of people are just motivated strictly by price.
Right.
And so if I go to the local, like there's a Dunmore Seafood Market up on Chestnut, if I go up there and I say I want to buy product A, and then I go to the big supermarket and I go, oh, wow, it's a little cheaper up at the big supermarket, most people are going to want to go up there. But I like the fresh stuff. I like to go to the little guy. I mean, I got some tuna steaks from this guy. Man, they were really good.
The thing is, that thing in the middle of your face called your nose, it's a good gauge. It's there for a reason. You smell. If it smells bad, it's probably bad. It's true. They said fish smells fishy. Fish shouldn't, that term fishy usually means that something's going bad. It's starting to smell because the bacteria that hits seafood works really quick, especially like white-fleshed fish. It turns really quick. If you go somewhere and it smells bad, it's bad. It should smell like if you're on the beach and after a storm or something, you're walking on the beach and it smells salty and you smell the seaweed, and it's not a bad smell. It's the smell of the ocean. That's what fresh seafood should smell like. If it stinks, I'm not going to eat it. I don't know.
So we're spending more time in our homes, right? And we're also, because of the pandemic, I know that I'm at least thinking about a healthier lifestyle and healthier diet. So, and fish would tie in with something like that, right? So, but a lot of people shy away from making it, because they don't.
They want their house to smell like fish when they're cooking.
Well, not only because of the odor, but because sometimes it's a little difficult. I know that a piece of salmon at Cooper's is going to be a lot different than a piece of salmon that I could ever cook up.
Do you think?
Well,
there's a trick to it.
Well, the thing is, seafood doesn't. You should never overcook seafood. First of all, it's very fragile.
Yes.
And salmon for one. I mean, again, most of the salmon is farm raised. We buy salmon from an area of the world that's probably the best area in the world to grow salmon, which is in the Faroe Islands, which is between Denmark and Scotland, and it's its own principality now. But they're raised out in the ocean. They have wild feed. Even the European Union, which is extremely fussy about accepting anything, they will accept this carte blanche just as the way they go, because they are the perfect place to raise salmon. That salmon from the Faroe Islands, I would put up against, people would know, Copper River salmon from Alaska. Super expensive, super good. I'd put it up against that, and the price is probably, a quarter or a third of what Copper River would be. But you can't always get it because it's in such high demand. Salmon farming is another thing. Went south at first. A learning curve. They initially, the first ones that started farming it was really the Norwegians. Norwegians did a great job, and Norwegian salmon became known as the best. Just because at first it was inexpensive. Salmon used to be super expensive before they started farming it. They didn't realize what they were doing at first, of course, and then they kind of fell behind in the way they were doing their stuff. The Chileans did a great job. They actually killed off their entire production a few years ago because they found there was a parasite, and they didn't want it to get off, ruin their product, and ruin something in the ocean. But they killed off all of their pens. They dropped the world price of salmon lowest it was in many, many, many years. And then they started up again, but it was the right thing to do. So,
all right, so let's get back. What were we talking about? How do we cook a salmon?
Okay, cook salmon.
I want to know how to cook a salmon.
Yeah, but we're going to go to a break, and then we're going to say, how do we cook a salmon, right?
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
All right, we have with us Mark Cooper, executive chef at Cooper's Seafood House. And, of course, anybody that's listening from the area knows they're located at 701 North Washington Avenue in Scranton. All your dining rooms are now open. You're at 75% capacity, and you're getting back to some sort of normalcy?
Absolutely.
All right.
And we could do takeout from there, too. I've done takeout a bunch of times.
Absolutely. Do takeout, too. All right. Before we go to break, I want to talk about a profile of a home buyer in 2020, the characteristics and highlights. First-time home buyers made up 31% of all home buyers. It was a dip from last year's 33%, and the typical buyer was 47 years old, holding steady from 2019, and the median household income for 2019 rose again to $96,500.
It rose from 2019 to 2020 to 96.5?
Yes.
Oh.
Stay with the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. We'll be back after a very brief break.
The talented team of professionals at Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate. They're not just real estate agents, they're agents of change. They're on a never-ending quest for the best for you and your family. They can help you find precisely what you want at this time in your life. A computer, a website, an app, and a listing by itself can't do that. They're obsessed with better and deliver extraordinary, embracing the what if, not just the what's been done before, with a level of accountability and honesty not found anywhere else in the real estate industry. Don't settle for average, okay, or just all right. This change in your life is monumental, and there's only one Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate that will help you rock that change. Call 570-344-6724 and visit jruddy.com, JRUDDY.com. Each Century 21 office is independently owned and operated.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy. I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker, and with Pat Devaney, my husband, fellow realtor. Hello.
Hello, how are you? We're back.
With Mark Cooper.
Hello.
Executive chef at Cooper's Seafood House in downtown Scranton. We're back. We talked in the first half of the show, we talked about beware of making seafood selections and how important it is when we're looking for scallops and shrimp. And
any seafood, right?
Any seafood.
Any seafood, yeah.
Right before the break, we were talking about salmon, and we were going to talk about how to prepare it properly.
And easily.
Because
first of all, don't overcook it.
Right.
Don't overcook it.
But before we do that, because I don't want to forget to ask this question. This is totally out of left field. Where do you get your potatoes? Your baked potatoes?
Baked potatoes. Well, right at the moment, we're not serving those baked potatoes.
I know, and I was so upset about that.
I know. But what happened is that we had a supply, and because we weren't open, so they would keep those in stock for us, and with the COVID, everything was upside down.
They're the size of a football. Anybody out there listening that isn't eating at Cooper's, they are a meal in and of itself.
And you love your potatoes.
And I love my potatoes.
Yes, and that's one of those things. We're looking to bring them back, but we actually haven't been able to get them.
Okay.
It was a special order. They would save
Yes,
them
they
for
were
us.
special. Nobody else had them.
No, nobody else. They would keep a large pallet of them on.
So it's a
stock
top
for us.
secret location.
Top secret location, but but they have lobster bisque.
Yeah, they do.
That stuff is unbelievable.
Gold, right. Okay, so salmon. Let's talk
Salmon,
about it. Okay.
number one. Okay, don't overcook it. And you can grill it, you can bake it, you can fry it, you can do anything you want with it. Just don't overcook it. Proper thing, like I was telling Pat, one of my favorite ways to do it is to take the salmon, rub a little seasoning on it.
What kind of seasoning? Give us.
I love Old Bay. That's my personal favorite. I love Old Bay seasoning. It doesn't have to be Old Bay. It can be anything. Salt and pepper. Rub a little bit of steak seasoning onto it.
Really?
You can use that.
What
was it? The chicken seasoning. There's the chicken grilling seasoning.
Okay. The Adobe.
That's a great seasoning for it too. I like to pan sear them just like I do steaks. Cast iron pan.
Cast iron pan.
Heat it up. I like a little olive oil. I like to use olive oil or grapeseed oil.
Grapeseed oil.
Grapeseed oil is actually better because it hits the temperature. It holds temperature better. Sear it one side. Sear it on the other side. Okay. And then you can just cover it. Shut the heat off. Cover it a little while. And let it finish cooking in that pan. The heat from the pan will finish cooking it. So you've got the sear, and you've got everything cooked down nicely. In the meantime, what I will do is take some balsamic vinegar in another pan. Not aluminum. It could be stainless steel or copper or something like that.
Not aluminum. Yeah, they don't like aluminum.
No, not aluminum. No, you'll wind up eating aluminum then.
Oh.
You don't want to do that.
No.
Cook it down. Just cook it on the stove until it turns into a little syrupy. And it takes a little while. You have to reduce it quite a bit. That's a balsamic reduction. And when you get done with that salmon, take it out and drizzle that over the top of your salmon. It's delicious.
You know what we're having for dinner tonight?
Salmon.
Salmon.
It's absolutely great. Just plain grilling it outside on the grill. I mean, fantastic. Just don't overdo it. And make sure it's nice and hot when you put it down first. Make sure everything's hot before you put the food to it so that it sears.
It doesn't stick to the grill and fall apart.
Right. And what I will do is like whatever I'm putting on the grill, you can use like spray pan or oil, rub it with a little oil or something. Just make sure you coat it a little bit with oils. Hit it down there so that it gives it a release so it doesn't stick. Pretty simple. Poaching salmon is another. It's an easy way to do it in the house where it's not going to smell. I like to do it. You can take
Poaching mean you mean put it in the hot water?
Boiling. Not boiling, but simmering it. I like to do it with. You can use a stock. You can use chicken stock. Chicken stock. Cook it in the chicken stock. Let it simmer, not boil. Simmer till it turns color. Then take it out, and then hollandaise, that balsamic reduction, anything on top of the poached salmon is a great dish. You could put an Italian dressing on it. Anything you want. Experiment. That's how we try recipes. We just someone comes up with an idea, and we try it.
Okay, good. How about grilling?
Grilling is fantastic. That's on the outdoor grill. That's usually what I'll do at home. I've got a flat grill and an outdoor regular grill, but I'll do it on the charbroiler. Same thing. I season it up, put a little oil on it, and then just grill it on the outside.
Charcoal or gas?
Either one, doesn't matter.
Because I got a new charcoal new charcoal grill coming, and I'm gonna be trying it out.
Charcoal is great.
It's the best.
Absolutely great. The flavor's better, I think. Anyway,
I do too.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be so good for us, though.
Yeah, well, you know what? None of us are getting out of this alive, so.
And we're all supposed to be eating salmon anyway.
Yeah, right. I'm eating the good stuff, but there's
a classic case of my dad, who was 98 years old when he died. My father thought pork was a vegetable.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He never had a problem with his heart or anything else.
As long as I don't have a menthol cigarette, I guess I'm good, right?
Yeah. Before we go, we only have 2 minutes left. What do you do to make your steaks taste better? There's a little trick that you do, and I think Patrick, our son, does this.
Yeah, he does too.
Okay, the French say, if it doesn't taste quite right, it needs more butter. So when I finish grilling a steak, I take a pat of softened butter and put it on top and let the butter melt into the steak. That will...
After you grill it. See, Patrick does it before.
He does it before. And while he's cooking it, he bastes it the whole time. Bob Sibio says the same exact thing.
Yeah, well, I do the same thing. Yeah, you baste it with the butter to make it go through it. But when you're done, put the lump of butter on there and let it melt into the steak. And you're going to pick up all that. That's what your body tastes. You taste the oil. That's what your taste goes for. It's all the oils in there. So the butter is going to enhance that taste.
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I'm getting
hungry.
I'm hungry.
Okay. All right. With us today, Mark Cooper, executive chef at Cooper's Seafood House, 701 North Washington. It's not just a seafood house. You're known for a lot of other things. You have a banquet room.
Oh, we do.
You have the train on the ceiling that everybody talks about.
It's a museum.
Yeah. We actually are paired with the Everhart. So we've done stuff for them, and they've done stuff for us.
Just walking through your place just is
it's a collection of so many artifacts.
And how many beers? You've always been known.
Oh, Lord, I don't even know at this point.
Hundreds.
Hundreds. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
It's actually cut down. The bottle of beer phase has gone down somewhat. Fresh tap beer, craft beers are more in vogue now.
Is it? Yeah, see, I don't know.
Yeah.
You had a beer club. You still have the beer club?
Still the beer club, yes.
Okay. So...
Yep,
people from all over.
Yeah, we started that. We got that idea from the Brick and Scallops Saloon down in Washington, D.C. back many, many, many years ago.
So you can go in and have a liquid lunch?
Yeah. A barley sandwich.
Mark Cooper, would you come back next week to talk more about cooking?
I'd love to.
Thank you. We're out of time. Thanks for tuning in. Would you like to say anything on this Memorial Day weekend?
I want to say thank you for all our veterans. Mark, you're a veteran. Thank you very much. And thank you for everybody who's served our country. Thank
and the
you.
many sacrifices that you make.
Amen to that.
Yes. So we honor them, and
your dad, my dad.
God bless them. Tune in next Saturday at 11 a.m., Sunday at 11:30 a.m. to listen to more of the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker.